Well, it's 2 weeks on from the coronation, and I thought we'd have a little look back and have a little look at the magazines and their coverage of this historical occasion. So we've got OK Magazine and Country Life. We have two versions of the Radio Times, and we've got the Critic to be looking at. So I think we'll start with OK Magazine, King Charles III. So it's a lovely front cover, isn't it, of Prince Charles, who is now our king. A complete guide to the coronation. We've got that lovely logo there. Plus our monarch's extraordinary life in pictures. So we've got our contents, and then here we go. So crowning our king. It's a lovely picture there. So that's an example of the invite, and there's that gorgeous photo of them in the blue, which was featured a lot on the limited edition, and general release from the Royal Collection. So all the cups are blue and gold. Beautiful colours. Look at these lovely pictures. And that's from the Platinum Jubilee, the last time our Queen graced the balcony. So this has got a coronation diary and lots of gorgeous pictures. Buckingham Palace, and then this is looking back at some of the previous coronations. So this is his mum, and there is Prince Charles. Little did he know he'd have to wait 70 years to become king. So about the pomp and pageantry. So it's explaining how this coronation is going to operate on a smaller scale to that of his mother's, and it's looking to combine the ancient ceremony but to have a modern twist, and also inclusivity, which is becoming more and more important and relevant today and should definitely be recognised. Oh, and look at that stunning picture. So this is the gold coach that His Majesty King Charles and Queen Camilla came back up the Mall after the coronation. Have a look at my video of the coronation day, because I got a really superb view of it. But this is last year during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, which I happened to be there as well. Then this is the diamond carriage, I believe, which is the carriage that they got to go down to Westminster Abbey. This is a look at Westminster Abbey. So this is explaining what happens in the ceremony. I've also got videos covering that if you want to have a look back. And then they finish with the fly past. Unfortunately, because of the weather, true British style, it had to be cut short, but we did get to see the red arrows. We were actually right up close. We were up here to see them on the balcony, so that was really, really fun. Oh, and then it talks about the royal regalia. So look at that, isn't it gorgeous? St. Edward's crown, super sparkly. So it's talking about the crown jewels. There's Her Majesty, the sceptre and the orb. And then this is Queen Mary's crown, which Camilla is crowned with. And it's been remodelled this time to include some diamonds from Her late Majesty. And then this is the imperial state crown, which is used at openings of Parliament as such, but was last seen on the Queen's coffin, which again I managed to see last September. Very, very poignant. Explains about the different sceptres. So we've got the sceptre with the cross, sceptre with the dove. Oh, and look, there's all the different regalia. Oh, and the swords. Penny Mordaunt certainly made her name carrying that sword, didn't she? And then these are the two rings. That's the sovereign, and then the Queen Consort. Sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, the ring, and then the Order of the Garter Star. Getting carried away. And then here we have about the different robes, because there were 5 different gowns that were worn on the day. So this is the Queen's. the late Queen Elizabeth II, and Camilla was going to wear the robe of state. And I believe Camilla had a gown made for her for the one coming back. So it'll be the first time seeing all the royal regalia, unless you've been to the Tower of London, which I highly recommend. Then you can see all the royal regalia there. And I just adore this picture of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Isn't it beautiful? So glamorous. Really, really beautiful. So these are pictures from Queen Elizabeth's coronation. And here's little Prince Charles next to the Queen Mother. I think she apparently was telling him, don't forget this. So I'm sure there were some poignant memories being back in the Abbey and it being him being crowned. And 70 years ago it was his mother. And you know, it was what post-war Britain needed, that extra sparkle. And I actually think, you know, nowadays we needed that little bit of extra sparkle. It certainly lifted my spirits up. And look at the crowds there for Her Majesty's coronation. Huge. I mean, the route was so much bigger for Queen Elizabeth II's. And her dress was stunning. I mean, again, you can see this at the Tower of London. Embroidered with the four nation symbols and then emblems from all the Commonwealth states. Really, really gorgeous. And she had a far bigger entourage than both King Charles and Queen Camilla had. And there she is. I mean, she was so young, wasn't she? 25, 26 when she came to the throne. It's such a big role to take on. And didn't she do well? She certainly committed herself to life. And then these looking back at previous coronations. So you've got George VI here at his coronation, and there's Princess Elizabeth, Princess Margaret, and Queen Mother. And then we have Queen Elizabeth, Prince Philip, Princess Margaret, and the Queen Mother at her coronation. It's a lovely contrast there, isn't there? So then this talks about the nation celebrating. Oh, look at that cake. Doesn't it look gorgeous? Looks good enough to eat. So it's talking about, you know, giving a chance for communities to unite again, because there was the big eat out and the big help out. So volunteering schemes, street parties were encouraged. I think that's really, really lovely. And just like there was a party at the palace, well, this time it was at Windsor Castle. I don't know if you saw it. I watched it on telly and I thought it was fabulous. I loved it. Loved every moment of it. And then look at these street parties. So this is back in 2012, celebrating the Diamond Jubilee of Her Majesty. And this is back during Her Majesty's coronation. A really, really lovely time. And then this is reflecting. It's a bittersweet day because you have to remember he's been crowned because his mother has passed away. So I think it must be a really poignant moment. And then look at these pictures. I just think this is wonderful. There she is with her first son, who become king. And we got these family photos. So Prince Charles, Princess Anne, the Queen Mother. There's the Queen. I love these inside shots because they remind us, you know, they're a family. But they do so much work. They never have a holiday, really. I know they do escape to Scotland, but you're always in the public eye. And I do think they render us a great service. And these are just gorgeous behind the scenes pictures. And I think Charles and his mother grew closer in later years. This is talking about when Prince Charles was had his investiture as the Prince of Wales. So that was a big ceremony, and I believe that's not going to happen for William, our current Prince of Wales. It gets very confusing because I still think of Prince of Wales as Prince Charles. But you know, hundreds turned out to view, and this is Carnarvon Castle. Do correct me if I didn't quite pronounce that correctly. Lovely bright colours. And that must have been quite a poignant moment for Her Majesty. And in a way, this is sort of preparing Charles for that coronation moment, but I don't think anyone had any idea he'd have to wait such a long time. But you know, it's meant that he's been able to carve a path and render a huge service with the Prince's Trust. Oh, look at that. A king in waiting. I love that image. It's really nice because, I mean, we're so used to so many photos and videos nowadays, whereas, you know, in times gone by, you know, we didn't have a smartphone to take photos of every single thing. So I think it makes the pictures even more special, if you will. I think that's quite poignant when Her Majesty in later years couldn't come to the state opening. She's still represented by the crown. Very, very important. And then there's a section about our coronation queen, Queen Camilla. And, you know, I think she's stepping up and really championing a lot of pertinent issues. And as a dancer, she's a silver swan, so I do love that. And to be honest, I think it's nice that King Charles has that support. I think it's very important to have that support, not just when you're in the public eye, you know, in daily life. And there they are at their wedding. I mean, it's hugely revolutionary, really, isn't it, in royal terms, when you think Edward VIII had to abdicate and wasn't allowed, you know, to be king because he married a divorcee. So it's nice to see that times are moving on. And then this is talking about Charles as a father and grandfather, you know. And his sons, you know, they've been through a hugely difficult time, all of them have. But, you know, life is full of its ups and downs, and the royal family are not exempt. And then this is talking about those that are going to be supporting the king, so those senior royals that take on those roles of representing the royal family. I like these, you know, they're just relaxed images, like anybody, really. Princess Anne, she does a huge amount of work for the royal family, and I mean, you don't hear that much. And then Sophie and Edward, so our new Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. I still think of the Duke of Edinburgh as Prince Philip. And then these are some pictures of Charles when he was younger, as a baby, as a little boy. Gosh, I mean, they look so old-fashioned, the photos, don't they? It really reminds you how times move. And there he is growing up. Oh my gosh, I forgot about bread bins like that. We used to have one like that. So this is a little timeline in photos. So he was born in the 1940s. Look at the old pram. We go to the 1950s. And the train. There he is with his sister. 1960s, growing up. He was accepted at Trinity College, Cambridge, and had flying lessons with the RAF. became Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Regiment of Wales, his investiture. Then he became the first British royal to graduate. And then he served in the Royal Air Force. It's really nice to see, because to be honest, I have to say I don't feel I knew that much about Prince Charles growing up. So it's nice to read behind the scenes. So his first marriage and his children arriving, William and Harry. And he's a very passionate drawer. And obviously the tragedy, a difficult time. But then, you know, the clock keeps ticking and the world carries on, and you have to find that path, don't you? So then this is moving on to his second marriage. And obviously the wedding of his first son. And down here, the Diamond Jubilee concert. And then the marriage of his second son. Oh, that's back at the Platinum Jubilee. And then last year, sadly, the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, and then his first address as king, which I think was superbly put together personally. And then this is talking about his love, so, you know, his love of nature, and, you know, how it's been a rocky time, but how, you know, he's really championed different things, and the youth, and especially through the Prince's Trust. He's passionate about doing things, and I've heard he works so hard. I think it's nice to hear that, you know, they're not just sat there, you know, in a throne like time's gone by. They do a lot of work representing our country, whatever opinions you may have. And then this is talking about succession, really, isn't it? So that'll be Prince William. So it's, you know, shaping the monarchy for future generations. And then obviously Prince George, he will succeed his father. And what a gorgeous photo, showing him where he's probably happiest with nature and his plants and the environment. And these are really pertinent issues now, and very important to have our monarch championing them, I think, perhaps. Well, that looks very civilised, doesn't it? He's working outside in the garden. And I think we all started to do that with COVID, didn't we? So that's the Coronation issue of OK Magazine. And I have to say, I think it's a really, really lovely record. And I definitely recommend a copy of it if you fancy a little bit of memorabilia. So, moving on to the Country Life Coronation issue. I love the front cover of this. It's a sort of navy blue, and then that gold is gleaming exactly like the Royal Collection cups and pill boxes and plates that you might have seen in my other videos. So let's have a look. So here we are. Heavy Lies the Crown. So this is St. Edward's crown. And then this is talking about the history behind the coronations. And then this is the Imperial State Crown. So St. Edward's crown is only ever worn for coronations. That's the only time that the monarch ever wears it. There you've got the ring. And this is talking about, look at this. This is one of the medieval crowns that survived. And then this is Charles II when he was anointed and coronated, so after the Civil War. And this is talking about lots of the different crowns, so a very historical meaning. And then this is what the anointing oil is kept in, and the spoon, which is used for the anointing. And the spoon is the oldest surviving item of coronation regalia, probably dating back to 1349, because most of our coronation regalia was melted down in the Civil War. And this is talking about the theatre. It's called a theatre, so it's a theatre of coronation. And it is a bit of a theatre, isn't it? You know? So you've got the throne. This is Westminster Abbey. Then you can see down here what's called the Cosmati pavement, which is where the throne will sit. Well, did sit for the coronation. And then this is talking about coronations in the past and how sometimes it was raised up for the actual coronation. So this diagram is looking back to Westminster Abbey in 1500. His lofty throne is described as being high enough for a mounted knight to ride beneath it. So you can see in times gone by, there was a huge stage, so the throne was lifted high so everybody could see the coronation taking place. And then this is a picture of James II being coronated. This next section actually looks at our king, the Renaissance king. So 10 people are interviewed and talk about the king. Those who actually know him. You know, it's very easy for us and the press to have their comments, have their opinions, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to them. But it's very hard to actually form an opinion unless you actually know the person. And I think this is a rather nice section because it's actually interviews with 10 different people who know King Charles well, and they explain why they believe that he will be an excellent king. I mean, he's had plenty of preparation and practice, hasn't he? And I actually watched a documentary about his Duchy of Cornwall and how much he does for that and how much revenue it actually creates, and, you know, how he helps the surrounding countryside. So, you know, he's very active. He's not, what should we say? Passive. Passive's the word. God save the King, Charles III. I like this poster. It's really nice. And then this is talking about the Duchess of Cornwall, who's our queen. She's the best listener in the world. And, you know, I think that's super. Oh, this is a gorgeous photo. It's done for her birthday, I think, by the Duchess of Cambridge, who is now our Princess of Wales. So this is talking about all the different consorts, you know. And it's quite important, I think, to have somebody who can stand by you. Because I think being a monarch must be quite a lonely job. You know, it's duty. So to have someone to share everything with, I think it must be quite important. These are different facts and figures about the coronation. And then this is a fun section. It shouldn't happen at a coronation. So things in times gone by where things have gone wrong. Well, the Archbishop, who was almost blind, put the crown on the king's head the wrong way round. Goodness, you wouldn't want that happening. And Victoria's coronation ring had been made for the wrong finger. So, you know, perfect planning. And this is talking about the different buildings. And then this is about King dangerously ill. So Edward VII contracted appendicitis 2 days before the intended date. Oh dear. So that can't have been too good. Let the celebrations begin. I like these cartoons. So this is talking about the different things people might do during the coronation. So catching a glimpse of the procession, cooking a quiche, or camping far away from everything. Because, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's absolutely fine. So again, this is looking back to the coronation of George VI, the King and I love that. And look at the periscopes that they used. No selfie sticks, but periscopes. Got to love that, I think. This has a look at the pin badge and a coronation souvenir book. Beautifully done. And that's their balcony scene with Princess Elizabeth. Coronation bells. And then this section goes into detail about that gold state coach, which you can visit at the Royal Mews, I believe. And then this is interesting. So this is about this lady known as Jane the Hat. She's been dressing some of our most famous actors' heads since the late 1960s. And then this talks about some of the headwear she creates. So look, this is the garter bonnet that Mrs. Smith made for the ceremony in 2022, so last year. And then this is fascinating as well. So this is about the new image that will be gracing our coins soon. It'll be very strange. So Martin Jennings is the man behind the image. He was commissioned by the Royal Mint. It must be very special for him. And then this little bit's about the music. So this image is taken from George IV's coronation. I mean, look at the amount of people that were involved. And King Charles is very passionate about music. And I know he was looking at including the tradition, but also combined with modern as well. So Andrew Lloyd Webber certainly composed a new anthem for the coronation. But of course, Zadok the priest was included. I always thought that was at the time of crowning, but as I discovered when I watched Coronation, it's at the time of the anointing. And this is the King's Gardens. So this is talking with Alan Titchmarsh. Talking all about gardens. So in Highgrove and in Aberdeenshire, where the King has some of his properties. I mean, they just look absolutely stunning, don't they? Very beautifully cultivated. And I know he's commissioning a new topiary garden for Sandringham, so I think that'll be fabulous when it's finished. Sandringham's somewhere I've not actually had a chance to visit yet. And then this is a look at national anthems. So, you know, France's Republican La Marseillaise, and then you've got Switzerland's Psalm, and then God Save the King. So it's talking about how national anthems are still a rallying call for us all. This is a little selection of things that you could buy. So look at that, that's a gold carriage and a Fabergé egg, I believe. And then down here there's a golden musical box. Goodness, that's quite intricate. And then down here a butterfly pin. And then you've got an article about Bentley and Skinner. So all their jewellers. So they're a trusted jeweller for generation upon generation of families, both royal and otherwise. See the pictures. So they had the royal warrants. You can see that in the little case there. And then I like this, not just for mugs, love it or loathe it, royal memorabilia is a big business. So taking a look back at commemorative souvenirs from the past. And you know, I mean, being able to live close to Buckingham Palace, we have popped into the shops and it's incredible. I mean, the staff have said just how quickly everything has gone. And actually the website is down at the moment, so you can't actually buy your memorabilia at the moment. You have to be quick off the mark because the Royal Collection stuff is exquisitely created this time. and with a range of limited edition stuff. I think it's really nice, and the colour scheme and everything they've done, and for it to be handmade in England as well. Look at that, a little model of the Gold State coach made for Elizabeth II. And then look at this is an enthusiast who has a lot of royal memorabilia. Oh my goodness me. And these are some of the different things. So there's Emma Bridgewater, there's decorations, silk scarves, plates, cups, coronation spoons. They're actually rather lovely. I've seen those in the royal shop. And I found this very interesting. So jewellers are stamping new pieces with the hallmarks specially created to mark the coronation of Charles III. So I never knew that happened. So you can see on this piece that they've included the new coronation hallmarks, which I thought was pretty fascinating. Don't know if you knew. So this is an example of some of the work the king has done in the Duchy of Cornwall. So he's created a new town called Poundbury. The king's ideas and architecture planning and the environment are reflected in this new space that's been created. So he's a leading light in creating a sustainable, nature-friendly environment, which I think is important because with a lot of these new builds that go up, you know, they can be quite soulless and not thought through well. And this article is talking about portraits, the face of majesty. So ever since Alfred the Great's likeness was stamped on coins, royal portraits have marked the might of our monarchs. Although, as Michael Podger discovers, some are excessively flattering. Look at that, doesn't it look fabulous? So that's our Elizabeth I. It's quite incredible that Elizabeth I, Victoria and Elizabeth II all reigned for so long, don't you think? Says something, doesn't it? So there's no hint of Charles I's diminutive stature in this painting, which is quite funny. And then look, that infamous king, Henry VIII. Goodness. I mean, that's quite a challenging portrait, isn't it? You wouldn't want to mess with that king. Which, you know, that's what they very much were, figureheads, and it's changed so much now. Look at these of our late Majesty. So this is a painting from 2001. Then down here, a portrait from 1955 of our new Queen. And here we have George III. It's fascinating, isn't it, that now we have photos and films, but back then, the only glimpse you'd really get to see of the monarch were these pictures, paintings. And even then, you probably wouldn't see them that much, would you? So this is a Christie's New York sale. And look at that coronet from the coronation of William IV, $6,000. George V coronet, $11,000. Victorian coronet, $4,700. Goodness me, big business, isn't it? So I think that was a really lovely magazine because it had some different aspects. It wasn't just talking about, you know, what happens in the coronation and the coronation regalia, because you can find so much information about that in other magazines, which is very helpful, but this gives a bit more background information on the past and previous occasions, previous coronations, you know, souvenirs, memorabilia, things that went wrong, pictures, paintings, who's created the coins. So really, really fabulous. So here we have the Critic. I don't think there's much in here, but I love this. So you've got, it's sort of a very old-fashioned medieval background, and then you've got King Charles there, which actually fits in, doesn't it, the ancient roots of a modern coronation. So you've got the ancient aspect, but King Charles, our modern monarch. So here we go, it's bordered in this beautiful gold. Charles III, by the grace of God, King Defender of the Faith. So the ancient sacred ceremony at the heart of a very modern coronation. So it talks about the history of the coronation and the biblical origins of the coronation, because you have to remember it's a religious ceremony. And this is a picture of the Queen, our late Queen, being shown the ampulla back in 2012 as part of the Diamond Jubilee multi-faith reception. So that was used at her coronation. And then they talk about the coronation today. Got the pictures of the regalia, and then this explains the rite, so what happened in the 1953 coronation. And you can compare that to the coronation we just witnessed on the 6th of May. I did a video about all the different parts of the coronation ceremony, if you have a flick back through my videos on my channel. And then this, I saw this in one of the shops called Tag Fine Arts. So it's limited edition, I do believe. And I just think it's wonderful. The coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. Beautifully, beautifully illustrated. So there it's going through. So it's got some of what happens. So the recognition and the oath, the anointing, the investing. Then you have the crowning, enthronement and homage, and then the closing procession. And then either side, you've got all the monarchs. So basically a timeline of all the monarchs that have been crowned. So look, got Elizabeth I there, coming all the way down to our late Queen Elizabeth II. And then you've also got the images, so the Imperial State Crown, St. Edward's Crown, which is the one used for crowning. And the coronation regalia, so the staffs, the swords, the spurs, all presented. Armills, the orb, the ring, the sword, queen consorts, ring, the queen consorts, scepters, and then the ampulla and coronation spoon used for the anointing. There we have King Charles III, the throne, and then Prince William, royal liege man, Queen Camilla, Archbishop of Canterbury, and then the various deans. So gorgeous, gorgeous illustration. That lamp and the soldiers trumpeting, and look, you've got the red arrows over Buckingham Palace, the coach. So that's the diamond state coach, and then leaving Westminster Abbey in the gold state coach. So I think that's a gorgeous, beautifully illustrated memento. But I have no idea what its price point is. So then that brings us down to the radio time. So we've got countdown to the coronation, and then we've got the coronation issue to have a look at. I really do think this is a lovely image of King Charles III. And actually, I can really see Prince Philip in King Charles here. So this is talking about some of the programmes that will be on for the countdown of the coronation. So there's a programme called The Making of the King, which I did watch and I thought was fabulous. So this whole, the whole creation for the coronation was codenamed Operation Golden Orb. So how do you make 6,000 uniforms for the coronation? Meet the tailors. So there's a programme called Coronation Tailors Fit for a King. If you haven't seen it, it is fabulous. So interesting. I never even thought really about the actual uniforms and the buttons being made. All made in England, all the materials made in England, and it's, you know, quite refreshing to hear things that are being made in the UK and not far-flung places. So that was a hugely fascinating programme. Then this programme, Sing for the King, the search for the coronation choir that would perform at the coronation concert. So that again was fabulous. So they were looking for a 300 strong super choir led by the choir master Gareth Malone, and then this documentary followed how they went about finding the different choirs. So I think there were choirs from RNLI, sea shanty, to reggae groups, to London cabbies, and then we had also an all-deaf sign performance group called Unify. So they signed the song during the performance. So that was fabulous, and that was brought on by Rose Ayling-Ellis. If you've saw her in Strictly, really championing, making sure that deaf people are heard as well. In this interview with a London cabbie, so I just love that. And then, as always with these sort of events, we always have street parties. Very British, isn't it? Very rose-tinted glasses. So this is about a feast fit for a king. So an interview with Prue Leith from the Bake Off. And then there's different recipes here that you might make perhaps for your street party. So you've got chicken tikka with yogurt and naan, quiche, salads. Oh, it's making me hungry. Shouldn't read this now, should I? Oh, and look at that, Mary Berry and a nice strawberry and walnut cake. Oh. And then here we have Emma Bridgewater and the range she's made for the King's coronation. So they're really lovely. The iconic cups, but with a different print. So you've got teapot, mugs. Really nice. And down here, coronation crown, again, made in Staffordshire. So really wonderful. And then this programme is about the Stone of Destiny. I haven't actually had a chance to watch this one yet, but it's talking about the Stone of Scone, which is now housed at Edinburgh Castle, but it's comes and it's put in the bottom of the throne. It's very historical and very important. So it's quite amazing how this stone, I mean, it was a potent symbol of Scottish autonomy, but it's seen a lot of drama. There was the theft of the Stone of Scone in the 1950s, so it's seen a lot of drama, so I definitely recommend that programme. Even though I haven't had a chance to see it yet, so I'm definitely going to be watching it. So with the countdown complete, we have the Radio Times, the Coronation issue. So we've got Charles III cipher there. So it opens with this page, Long Live the King. So this is a picture from the King's 60th birthday. The nation will come together to share a moment of joy. And I think that's a nice feeling in, times of conflict and strife and difficult times. Sometimes we need to have some enjoyment and uplifting feelings. So pictures of the Queen's coronation. Do you think his mummy and daddy have told him he's going to be king? I mean, what a strange thought that is. So this is an interview where Sir Simon Sharma saw a little boy on TV in 1953 and wondered about his future. 70 years later, the King's time has come. That's his investiture. I doubt very much whether Charles could be a completely silent king. He champions a lot of things. I love this image, look. So this is the coronation route. Isn't it beautifully done? So start at Buckingham Palace, coming down the Mall, through Admiralty Arch, along Whitehall, past Houses of Parliament, and then up to Westminster Abbey, and coming back completely the same route as they took. And then the red arrows going past, look at that. So I was stood on the Mall about here, And then I moved up further here for the later part, so that when I came out onto the Mall, I was in this roundabouty bit, so I got to see them on the balcony. I was very excited. Bit disappointed about the fly path, but very pleased to get to see the red arrows. And then this is an illustration of Westminster Abbey and the Coronation regalia. I owe the King everything. It was an honour to create the royal procession maps, as illustrator Catherine Baxter. Support from the Prince's Trust when she was in her 20s changed her life. See, it's stories like that I just find so uplifting. We won't drop the ball. The Dean of Westminster shares his secrets. So, you know, a huge thing to have a coronation to run. And then this is Kirsty Young, who was one of the anchors to cover the coronation. This is a look back at the Platinum Jubilee. And this is explaining how you can watch and listen to it. And then Hugh Edwards, very important face on our BBC, Hugh Edwards, and an interview with him. I mean, it's a huge thing to undertake, isn't it? And then her time has come. How did Camilla Parker Bowles go from the other woman to Queen? So Kay Burley of Sky News has been watching the story unfold for more than 40 years. So that's an interview with her. So here we are, crowning Camilla. When the crown is placed on the Queen's head, it will mark a great reversal of what happened to Edward VIII. I mean, it's quite amazing really, isn't it? Sing Hallelujah. So Debbie Wiseman is no stranger to major royal occasions, and she's thrilled to be composing for the coronation. So that's an interview with her. And here's another lady, Sarah Class, who has also composed a piece for the coronation. I mean, how special to be asked. Then an article about our Green King. Once ridiculed as a tree hugger, Charles has spent 50 years campaigning for nature. He should continue to do so. It's a little bit like his own father, who, you know, preempted doing stuff for the climate and the environment. And, you know, people used to think it was ridiculous, but they don't anymore, do they? And then an article about why Americans love a royal celebration. I have to say I've met quite a few Americans on the Mall and on my channel, and it's lovely. But not just Americans, you know, all around the world, Papua New Guinea, Asia, Africa. It's fabulous. A royal flush. So Lucy Worsley is a fabulous historian. She does some amazing history programmes, and she looks back over 1,000 years of coronation mishaps and misfortune. So 5 very interesting magazines, all very different. If I had to choose one as a really good souvenir, I'd probably choose the OK magazine, because there's lots of pictures and explanations, and the whole thing is devoted to coronation. Whereas the others, obviously the Radio Times has got the TV section in it. The Critic, there was only a few pages. Country Life, I mean, that's a lovely magazine, but got a lot of other adverts and things in it. So this one really just sort of dedicated itself to the coronation. Anyway, that's an interesting look back. I can't believe it was only 2 weeks ago. Anyway, please like and subscribe and leave any comments, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.